Well, first of all, David, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here. And yes, I am so excited to share with your listeners my story. My journey began, wow, about 18 years ago. I had an opportunity to work for a Fortune 500 company. So it's my dream job and in my dream city, which is sunny Southern California. I had the glass office, overlooked the ocean. It was great. About a month in, then the leaders of the company transferred a tyrant of the man from a different city location to ours to be our top manager. And this guy was awful. I remember one day leaving work, going to the gym, which I usually did, and he called me back to the office. I had something to go over. And I went back to the office, and him and the junior manager were sitting on one side of the desk, and they motioned me to sit on the other side of the desk, which I did. And would you know that this guy began to degrade me, belittle me, say racial things about me, sexist things about me, lying to me, telling me about lies that he lied that other people said about me that were not true for 3 hours
Wow.
and would not allow me to speak.
Wow.
Okay. Uh, as you know, when I left that meeting, I was pretty pissed.
Mm-hmm.
I was young. I was all alone. I had this great opportunity to work for this great company that shipped me from Washington State to California. And I had nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only other option that I had was to fight. Okay. And so the next day, I've been trying to talk to people about the situation. No one was listening to me in the company. And the next day, I called the EEOC, and I also called the CEO's office. I told the CEO's office that they don't handle this right now, I'm going to get legal counsel. And I had legal counsel on the other line. And so they said, oh, then they listened then, right? And they had me write a narrative, which I wrote a 10-page report of the things I witnessed him do throughout the time that he was managing our department. And I delivered that to the CEO, brought it to the CFO, and then I had a meeting with the CFO and also the human resources, the VP of human resources. Well, long story short, they immediately moved him from my vicinity, did an investigation, and then moved him from the company. So you would think I won, I was victorious, right?
Exactly.
But the stress I endured during that time just weighed on me. And I developed something called glossophobia. Glossophobia is a social anxiety disorder, or a serious case of stage fright. So I had a hard time talking to people. I mean, I was in a position where I was speaking and meeting with leaders from other multi-billion-dollar corporations, and I couldn't even look anyone in the eye. I couldn't shake anyone's hand. I couldn't voice an opinion in a meeting. I couldn't even answer a phone call. It was that bad, or leave a voicemail. And a friend of mine told me about Toastmasters International a few years back, and I knew that they were a public speaking organization. So I looked for a group and I found one that was meeting right like a couple of blocks from my job. And I thought, wow, I'm sure they can help me. Well, I remember the first day distinctly that I joined Toastmasters International. I got off of work about 5 o'clock. The meeting started around 7. And so I drove from my job over to their parking lot and sat there for about 2 hours to wait for the meeting to start, which I thought. But I sat in that car for 2 hours, crying, screaming, hyperventilating, having panic attacks, calling my mother because I was terrified to walk in the door because I knew they were going to ask me to speak. And when I walked in, the only thing I could do was say, "My name is Christie," and sit down. I did that same scenario for 3 months. 3 months. And so some leaders kind of saw that, hey, she's having a little problem here, and like encouraged me to do, small speaking roles, which in Toastmasters is about 30 seconds. To me, it was like 20 minutes, but I did them, and I feel like I survived. And then the big one came. They asked me to do a speech. And so I remember that day distinctly when I stood in front of that group of people. Oh my goodness. My head was hot. I started sweating. My palms were shaking. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it was going to beat out of my chest. And no words were coming out of my mouth. Wow. I was terrified. And then luckily, a trickle of a word would come out and a little bit more. Long story short, I got through that speech and everyone applauded. And I was terrified, but I realized that, hey, I survived. Well, over the years, I began to do more speeches and began to be on more stages and take leadership roles in Toastmasters. And something prompted me to put my eye and focus on that door. And when I was looking for people that looked like me, people who came in with a terror and fright in their eyes because they were going to be called to speak. And so I took it upon myself to help and support as many people as I can, because I knew that if they left, their life could be stuck and stagnant. Because I knew that my life transformed because I became a better communicator and connector. Whereas before I get entry level jobs or entry level positions, at that time, I began to be hired as the face and the voice of the CEO. I got more opportunities to be on more stages to speak my message in front of larger crowds. My business side became more visible and was able to do that because I was more comfortable being in front of people. But I know that if you stay invisible and stuck, you're not going to be able to grow.
Very true.
And so, long story short, that has led me to my journey and developing my business of being a speaking coach and having my own podcast of people who overcome challenges like that, who've gained a success and who are now able to help and mentor and coach other people as well, become their very best.
That is a very, very true and interesting story, because a lot of our society, I believe, is struggling with social connection. We're very stage fright. We're kind of scared to be in, I guess, in the hot seat, as I would say, because you go up and you try to present yourself and talk about facts, talk about information. And to be honest with you, here's a story. Like I've gone through that before. I remember when I never was a talker. And in grade 7, I believe, or grade 8, I had to do a history report on Julius Caesar. And I had my cue cards and I was reading the cue cards like word by word by word, not making eye contact with anybody. And the only person that really helped me with this was my teacher. And he grabbed my cue cards and he ripped them up in front of me. And he's just like, if you've done the research, you know the material. And he looked at me, he's like, did you do the material? And this was in front of the whole class. I'm like, yeah. He's just like, then you're fine. And then, to be honest with you, a switch just went like that. And it was night and day. I started walking up and down the classroom and just going over and making all these hand motions. And everyone started applauding and clapping. I find that a lot of us, there comes a point in time where we are stage fright, afraid to talk about the information, and then something happens, a switch happens. And it seems like the same thing happened from you. It's those baby steps, those 30 seconds, right? And I wasn't there, and I don't know what your mindset was, but maybe you're going through, well, it's just 30 seconds first. When you're doing your 10-minute speech, it was like, okay, let me get the first 30 seconds. Let me move on to the next 30 seconds. And I believe that, like how you mentioned, you were talking, it was word by word that was coming out. And you're like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Okay, gain the confidence, another 30 seconds. It's quite interesting to see that. And I wish I was there to see that growth, because it's like, I would say it's like a flower. It goes from a bud and then it starts to bloom. And I believe
absolutely, yes.
Stage, you just bloomed to be who you are, a very confident woman. I want to take you back to when you're in that office. And I say a few things in regards to that, because you said the key word, which was your dream job. At that time, being a woman in business, which is really critical, because it feels like you mentioned, the boss at that time degrade you like nobody's business for 3 hours, and that's messed up. Tell you the truth. Do you find that women in business are somewhat in that situation as well as of today?
Absolutely. I was in a clubhouse room actually yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking exactly on that topic. And what do you do in those situations? And the situation happens more and more often than people think. And you would think that as human resources department to kind of rectify that before it gets bad. But in my case, I went to human resources and they would not listen to me. about this. That's why I had to take it, a step further. But I think the main thing that women need to understand is they are worth more. They need to know their worth. They need to know their value, and they're important, and they should not take that and take a stand. I mean, for me, I had to give everything that I had. I mean, I was alone. So I had to gain that courage to stand up to this man. And if you think about it, back then, he was a Caucasian male, educated, middle age, in 40s. I was in my 20s. At that time, I was not educated. I'm an African-American woman. First exposure to the world, and I didn't know anything. And so a lot of things I took because I was in that situation that I didn't want to go back to where I came from. But I also didn't want to be in the situation, and this could be relationships as well. A lot of people stay in relationships because they don't want to go back to they're fearful of the unknown.
Yeah,
I wasn't going back, and I knew that I was right.
I believe also people want to prove themselves. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like despite everything, even in a relationship as well, you want to stay in there and prove that you could be in a relationship. Two, there's others that say, oh, this person is perfect for you, and so on and so forth. And you don't want to prove that the naysayers wrong. And then as for you as well, it's your dream job. This is stuff this is what you live for. You don't want to feel like you're a quitter at your dream job, right? So I believe that's why another reason why you took all that abuse from the boss.
Right, and a lot of this goes back to when you're a child. I mean, when you're a kid, and what do people say? Your kid and parents say, "Oh, shut up, be quiet," or they reprimand you. And then when you go to school, be quiet, sit down, be quiet, or else you're going to get a bad mark on your report card, and that's going to be taking your parents. You're going to get in trouble. And so I felt like it was my parent. I was being reprimanded for something. But then I thought, hey, I did not do anything wrong. I know that I'm ethical. I know that I do my job at the best of my ability. I know that I'm learning and growing. I did not do anything wrong. So you got to have to see that side of the situation. If you're in a relationship, and I've been in relationships as well, where I was in that relationship that wasn't serving me because I was worried about what everybody else is going to think.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to think about yourself first. You come first. You are priority over anything else. And once you understand that, you will have the strength and the courage to continue to move forward. And we have to understand that when we let things go, that leaves doors open for something better to come along.
Very true.
Right?
Very true. Yeah.
And so I fought, I got him removed, and the next boss is better.
Sometimes I know it's funny. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. We always have that expression that the grass is greener on the other side, but sometimes it's just brown. It's just brown grass. It's the reason why the grass becomes greener is really becomes, and like you said, it's working on yourself. If in your current situation you're able to overcome the adversaries, the naysayers, those that that degrade you, if you're able to overcome that, the next step and the next grass or the next opportunity shouldn't be that bad, because now you're a little bit more stronger than what you were prior. And that's why I believe that when people say, oh, the grass is greener on the other side, it's because, hey, I'm in a crappy situation. I've overcame that situation. Now I just want to get out of the environment and find something better. And then if something similar to the previous situation happens, you know how to handle yourself, as in, you know how to cut the grass, you know how to water the grass. And that's watering your situation, making it more, you could be in a bad situation, but as long as you accept you're in a bad situation, and that's the biggest thing, you know how to handle your situation in the correct manner. Because a lot of us go into a bad situation and we just pouring fuel over the fire. And what I wrote down where you're talking and when you're mentioning is that at that point in time when the person was talking to you, your power was being taken away from you. If you're in a bad situation, you have to make sure you don't relinquish your power, because it's that power of within yourself that you see and that you hold dear into you, that you're able to bring up, that will help you through those hard situations.
Right. I know at that time, I did not understand the power of personal development. I hadn't been introduced to that yet. But that situation and overcoming all of that allowed me to find personal development, start working on myself. I think if I had those skills and was able to like listen to conversations like this on how people overcame and the things that they did to overcome that and become stronger, I think I would have taken action a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't have drained me like it did. It wouldn't have affected me like it did. Like now, if I'm in that situation, I either handle it or I leave. And I'll think twice about it. But I think we also need to put things in perspective. You're talking about relationships. Now, we're not saying to, leave your husband or wife because, hey, they're always leaving crumbs on the floor and you think that's all awful. Put things in perspective, and then you look at the grass on the other side. Oh, he looks better. She looks better. No, those are things you need to work on and nurture your own grass and like work that out. But if you're actually physically or verbally abused, okay, then that's a situation you need to look at and understand that, hey, I'm worth more and seek more or be alone. I have been when I left that old relationship, I had to learn to love me. I had to learn to be by myself and love being with Christie. I think that's what a lot of people are not able to do, is to love themselves. I think in that situation with the job, I think now, if I would have left, I would understand that it's still okay. It's still okay. And I know now the things I need to do to get a better job or a better situation. And again, that goes back to the skills. Over these last 18 years, I've developed skills that allow me to be more valuable for the corporations. Whereas at that time, I was not educated. I didn't think I was very smart. I wasn't very knowledgeable. And so my self-limiting beliefs were really weighing me down. And then on top of that, I had someone else verbally abusing me. That's even suppressed me even more. But we just have to work on ourselves, spend time with ourselves, learning ourselves, growing. There's so much information out there online now that you can get or hire a coach or a mentor to kind of guide you through these areas where you're lacking. And that's pretty much what life is about. It's growth, understanding yourself.
So I must ask you this question. Knowing what you know now, what would you have told young Christie in that situation?
Oh, knowing what I know now, that conversation wouldn't have lasted 2 minutes. Oh, no.
Because
I've definitely learned to create boundaries, and I know my worth, and I absolutely do not allow anyone to degrade me. Period, point blank, because I do not treat anyone like that, and I am not going to allow anyone to treat me like that either.
Very true. The reason why I asked that question, because you keep mentioning that you were uneducated at that time. I believe that in that moment, while the person was talking to you, it doesn't matter about education. It's all about respect.
Absolutely.
And that's why I asked that question, is what would you have told young Christie at that moment? And I'm glad that you said that, because you said what I was looking for. And I'm glad you said it. It's that I would have told her, hey, you're not going to tolerate that. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the education at that point.
Right. That's one of the things that he kept telling me, is that I wasn't educated, that I wasn't smart. And those are a lot of things that stuck with me during that time, as I wasn't. And that also gave me the strength to go back to school to get my bachelor's degree and on to my master's degree. And now I have something that no one could ever take from me. And that has made me more confident in myself. Not everyone needs a degree. You don't need a degree. However, it's all, within. But even without that, now just learning through life of my own self-worth, I still don't think I would have taken that now.
Good, good. You mentioned something about social anxiety and how you overcame it. You mentioned that you're a coach in regards to that, like around that theme. What are some tips and pointers that you're able to give people that are struggling with that?
Right. If you do have social anxiety, one thing you can do is join a group like Toastmasters. It's a group that's very welcoming, encouraging, and supportive. But surround yourself with like-minded people who are going to help you and encourage you in your development. Now, on the other side of this is skills. There's certain skills that you need to know in order to be seen as a leader or expert. Okay, and there are leaders who do have stage fright. I have coached people who have, there's one particular gentleman who was in leadership in oil and gas field for 24 years. However, when he was put on a spot at an event and someone asked him a question, he was so nervous he couldn't respond. Okay, so learn the skills to become a better communicator, because that's going to take you so very far in relationships and also in your career or business as well. But learn the skills and practice, be dedicated to improving that area that, hey, you see that, hey, I need a little support in this area. Well, to overcome that, you need to learn all you can about making yourself better in that area, whether it's learning how to speak on stage, whether it's learning how to become a better communicator, having better eye contact, greeting people in a more natural, comfortable way. Maybe go full force into a sales position to where you're going to be able to get that practice to talk to people on a regular basis. Okay, but a lot of people don't take it a step and beyond and really delve and dive into that wholeheartedly, which I did. I mean, when I was practicing, I wanted to get out of this, I was practicing 8 times a day. My presentation skills, my speaking skills, my connection skills, because I saw that these leaders had it and I didn't. And they were looking at me in the eye directly when they were talking to me. So, hey, they know something I don't know. And this is something that I need to know in order to be professional in my job. So I practice the eye contact, practice the handshaking techniques, practice making people feel warm and having solid communication connection with someone. All those things go hand in hand, but it's things that I needed to practice. And so that goes very far. So kind of analyze yourself and see, hey, what areas can I become better at that's going to help me achieve greater goals or achieve, the success that I desire in my business and my career or life.
I love what you just said that, and you're absolutely right. A lot of us, I believe, we write down notes and we say, oh yes, we're going to do this, and we have all these lovely goals in life. But if you're not committed, if you don't take action, if you don't, like you mentioned, practice, and what they say is practice makes perfect. If you don't do that and you're just a talker, and they always say action speaks louder than words, then you're still going to be in the same place that you were back then.
Right. You're not going to grow. No,
not at all. Not at all. You mentioned your podcast. What's your podcast name?
My podcast is the same name as my business name, Be Seen, Be Loved, by Christie Love. And it's about overcoming challenges like this. So, you see people who successful and these gurus out there, but they didn't just one day to become a guru. No, they had to learn along the way. And sometimes things didn't work quite, as they expected. Or they've ran into challenges, but now they've made it. And now they're able in a position where they've gained success, they've acquired success, and now they want to help other people succeed as well and give them those tips. And so that's pretty much what I shared today, is how I overcame my situation and also how other people can succeed as well. And one thing I want to just bring up is another tip that I can share with your listeners is when you are working on anything, any kind of transformations, to get over that, because like you said, David, people don't want to do it, or they're not consistent or dedicated to it, or they have a bad day and they give up, they procrastinate. Is to have your why, write out your why. Before I do anything, I write out my why on a grander scale. Why do I want to do this? It's not, I don't want to just get a better position just to get a better position. Why do you want that better position? Are you going to have less stress? Are you going to have more vacation time to spend with your family? Or is it going to give you more money to do the things that you love to do? and have more free time for yourself, or to establish a relationship with your kids who you haven't seen in a while, or you're always passing by and not communicating. What is that next step going to do for you? And write that out. Write it on 5 different Post-it notes. I have Post-it notes everywhere, Post-it notes.
Same here.
And place those Post-it notes in 5 different areas you frequent the most. For instance, if it's your computer, I'm always at my computer. I definitely have it on my computer, maybe in your car. I have a prayer meditation room. I'll post it in my prayer meditation room, on my mirror, so I can see when I'm getting dressed or ready in the morning. In my closet where I'm getting dressed in the morning, I have a mirror there as well. All those different places that you frequent. Think about, the places that you frequent throughout the day, and post your why. And always have your why in the forefront of your mind. That's going to allow you to continue to move forward on days that you don't want to, or when a challenge or barrier comes in your face and you're feeling down on yourself and woe is me, you're still going to keep moving forward, and you're still going to do what it takes to overcome those barriers, because you're going to have your why in front of you at all times.
I love that. Honestly, I love that. And one thing I love about what I love doing in my show is called in Golden Nuggets. And right there, those are golden nuggets moments.
Golden nuggets.
I love that. And you gave me some tips, because I do have on my wall here a lot of Post-it notes of inspirational quotes and stuff. Like, I think about that, I write down over there. But it's true, like, I should start putting them in places where I'm frequently going. It's that constant reminder. And I think that with that constant reminder, it starts a catalyst within yourself to say, you know what, I am better than this. Let me work on this more better. And I think it as well, it provides a goal in your mind that now, I think as humans, we are programmed to once you have a goal in mind and you start seeing it every day, you start programming your mind, your body, everything that you do, your movements, to get to that goal as quickly and as strongly as you can. And with those Post-it 5 different places, stuff like that, those are constant reminders. Hey, for example, if you want to lose weight, put a Post-it note so you wake up, hey, do 10 push-ups. As soon as you go down to the kitchen, eat healthy. When you go downstairs or near the gym, or if you're going to the gym, put it in your car, a little note. Don't be distracted. Just work out for 30 minutes. Constant reminders. I see you with a smartwatch on your hand. Mm-hmm. Those just memos. Just memos that pop up or reminders. Hey, keep going up. You're doing a good job. Drink your water. Like stuff like that, I think are key to reach your goals and to become a better person than you were the day before. Christie, it's been fantastic. I love this conversation. I love the golden nuggets. If you want to add any more golden nuggets, go ahead. If not, we can end it.
All right. Well, I just had one more golden nugget about that why. And it's true what you're talking about, because I just lost 80 pounds of weight, 80 pounds, and I feel better than I did 30 years ago. I'm dating myself, but right. The things I have on my phone, timers. Hey, it's time to eat. I eat every 2.5, 3 hours. But my why at that time was to not only get my health back, but my health was failing. I had seizures that left me paralyzed, and I didn't want that anymore. My legs wouldn't work, and I walked with a walker and a cane for 2 years. I wanted to take walks again with my husband in the evenings. I wanted to exercise again. I wanted to feel my best. And so my nutrition and hydration is 100%, because what? I keep my why in front of me at all times.
Just so you know, this is my water. Have it right beside me at all times. There you go. I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, David. It was so nice being in your podcast, for sure.
Christie, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.